Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 658 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Reuben Boyd. And if you want to hear our conversation about EVO Creative Media and video marketing, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Reuben Boyd on with me with EVO Creative Media. We're going to talk about some really, really cool things when it comes to understanding how people engage and how they interact and the viewing trends of media, and how his company EVO Creative Media is helping with understanding that niche market and how it can help chiropractors become front and center with the productions that he is releasing for chiropractors. If you guys want to learn more about what he's doing, go to evocreativemedia.com/Chiro Hustle and join in and learn about how he can help you become stopped in the middle of the scroll with the content he produces. Before we get into talking to him about his background and how he got into becoming creative within media production, I want to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? But first things first is freedom of speech. We believe that that is the most important thing. Actually keeps us viable as a nation, but as a world, is to be able to tell our stories and talk about things without censorship and shadow bans and traffic throttle, all that stuff. We know what that feels like, so we'd never do that to you. And just to clear that up, we believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but if you want to find somebody that can give you guidance on either one of those topics, reach out to a chiropractor. They'll be happy to talk to you about taking care of you and your family with chiropractic and some of these bigger topics that people need help with. Philosophically speaking, we support and protect BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. It's his last words. If you want to know more about chiropractic, take a deep dive, go over and check out the show notes and learn about the Sacred Trust. We support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, and it creates educated intelligence. And with that, Reuben Boyd, welcome to the show. Your episode 658.
658. I'm glad to be here, James. Good to be here.
Yeah, we had probably a great episode before I hit the go button today, just talking, catching up and learning about life and talking trends and, where we all are and open-mindedness and all these things, travel to insurance and all the things in between, and just rehashing life and getting in a good platform to launch off of today. So
normal Tuesday conversations.
Yeah. And, podcast is the absolute best medium, I believe, for people to engage and catch up and to share a bigger message to more people. When I first got into marketing, we used to create content for one-to-one. Like, how do you get that message to resonate with one person? And then we had to figure out, how do you get your message to resonate with one-to-many? And that's really what we're doing today. Is we're talking about EVO Creative Media and how you've come to where you are today and how we can get your message from not just one-to-one, but from one-to-many. So your background, tell people how you got into the chiropractic space and what really inspired you to say, dang, I want to start creating content for that group.
Right. It's a good question. So it actually started years ago. I mean, quick background on me, I studied, biology, pre-med student through college, kind of was going down that traditional path, decided I didn't want to do that many years ago, and got into sales. Didn't really think much of it. I just moved overseas to Australia, was going to live life and kind of just expand my own viewpoints. Started working corporate sales, Xerox. Then I got into the aesthetic industry, which is really, that is where the journey began, getting familiar with the chiropractic community, as there was a lot of, chiropractors out there that were looking to bring in additional technologies, additional services to offer their patients for, right, the different reasons that they would, based upon what these did. And so all that being said is that when people would, buy these technologies and I would work with them, you kind of learn that everybody falls short in the same spot, right? They hit the same speed bump, which is there's a different tool, there's a different widget. All of a sudden, they get to the point where they're like, this is great. This fits my ethos. This fits what I want to do. Now what? Right. And that is where I really saw this branching into saying, how can I actually help, these different business owners? Because again, that's how I view this. We're all fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, business owners, right? Consumers. And we all want to take care of ourselves. But ultimately, how do we get our ethos, our brand, our message out there to the masses so that we can give the best overall experience? That's really how this EVO Creative Media came to be, which was to make that deliverable more affordable, higher produced, better content, so that whenever the message was seen by whoever you're trying to show it to, that it hit home, right? And it evoked a call to action to actually engage with you so that, you could get that service, that treatment, that whatever out there. But to your point about the chiropractic, it's because going way back when, way beyond the schooling, my dad was a naturopathic person. In our household, it was, he took turmeric instead of Advil. I mean, he was very much a holistic healer. That's where I really grew up in that life. I'm still to this day, personal opinion, right? I try to avoid going the opioid doctor route if I can. I believe that the human body has a lot of capacity to heal itself. And so working in the aesthetic space, meeting you when we met a couple years ago, you got the opportunity to realize that there was a lot of technology that I was selling that wasn't even being acknowledged by mainstream medical care, right? These were non-invasive, non-surgical options that truly offered profound life-changing impact on patients. And the providers that were more interested about what it could actually do for patient care were chiropractic practitioners, right? Naturo people who actually thought, hey, like this actually has a strong place to help all the patients I see. And then the people I was supposed to be talking to about it had zero interest in wanting to actually explore that route. And so for myself, the opportunity to take EVO Creative Media as my launching point and to help expand these, alternative therapies, quote unquote, right, as people see them, to the individuals that really want to help patients, that made all the sense in the world to me and where I wanted to spend my time.
Well, I think as you talk about the development of your career and you see where we are today, it's been said that people have the attention span of a goldfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of a crazy thing to think about. But when you think about attention spans, we have to create content that actually attracts that flicker state that people will actually like stop and pay attention to and engage with and interact with. I think that those are huge things for people to start to understand is we have to figure out how to get to the people that don't understand what chiropractic is and how it can help them and why it's a lifestyle choice and why it's not just something to get you out of pain or to be a solution for your headaches, but it's something that everybody can start to utilize and go to the doctor that doesn't do the opiate prescriptions and go to the doctor that doesn't make you have to get healed twice with what they do for you. So
for sure,
let's talk about your products. and how you decided this was the right medium for you to go into and support people with.
Yeah. So, I mean, our product is very simple, right? We look at developing media and content in a co-op form and function. Really, the idea is to be the hybrid for business owners as they look at it. So everybody, regardless of chiropractic or not, is familiar with franchises, right? And so franchisees typically pay anywhere from 3 to 8% of their gross revenue back to a larger corporate. The big corporate takes this huge bundle of money and then puts out national campaigns, video, direct mail, whatever, right, to share the message of something, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you have the mom and pop solo business owners, right? The solopreneurs who are just really trying to work in the local communities. They want to put video out there, but it's very expensive, right? We're talking $5,000 to $10,000 per video, especially professionally done stuff. So this goes to your point, right, about the consistency that people really need to put out there as far as having a long-term impact, because we do have the attention spans of a goldfish. You made a comment earlier about, we see things on Facebook. You don't see it the first time. You don't see it the second time. You don't see it the third time. I mean, hell, I think there's an old thing in sales about like, you get 7 no's before you get to a yes, right? So you got to have regular consistency with posting it. But when it goes back to that, if you're a small business owner trying to pay $5,000 to $10,000 for one professionally made video, that is not a long-term play that hardly anybody can actually do. So EVO Creative Media, that is our goal, right? Is to be that middle ground for independent business owners that have a collective mind share and a messaging that they share an ethos, to create a co-op model for them to actually have branded content that's branded to their offices. It's individualized and personalized. Their pictures, their offices, their logos, their brand colors, right? Centered around a professionally produced content strategy that is shared along the collective. And by doing that, we're able to have a much more affordable, much more sustainable approach at high-end digital content.
Well, the part that really excites me about the project that you're doing and the rollout that you're doing for the chiropractic message is you're specifically looking at the variety of target audiences, and you're specifically looking at who are the most important people to interact with and to start to, I guess, get popular vote and to start to interact with, to where they start doing what you're doing right now, is they just start like nodding their head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's me. I definitely identify with that. I didn't know that was something chiropractic could help with. And
Correct.
I think that's a really cool thing about your product and your business model, is you're saying, well, if I can start getting people to start shaking their head and identifying that chiropractic is a solution for me, rather than I don't know why they do what they do. I think that's a huge component to getting more people into chiropractic clinics, and that creates effective marketing campaigns. And I think that's the cornerstone of what your initiative is to create effective marketing campaigns where people can start to learn that chiropractic is the solution for them.
1,000%. I mean, I think there's a hard truth of life, right? Which is, again, the reason that the biggest companies in life oftentimes have the biggest market share is because of just their funds and branding, right? They can be in front of your face so much. That's just how people win the game, because if you see something frequently, it just kind of sticks in your head and you stick towards it. And I think we talked about it, before we got on the air, was, those old studies showing even a third to half of Americans don't really even understand the full philosophies, right, around chiropractic. That alone is a massive number of people. And so you're right, like, it is getting people to shake their heads, right? It is getting people to understand. And that's where that collective balance of what EVO Creative is really about, which is it important to have really impactful, strong, on topic messaging? Obviously, right? But you also have to do it regularly and consistently, because if I put 1,000 people and I shared it all out, right, the way that reels work and stories work and all the different algorithms within social media work, you don't see everybody every single time you do that, right? It's the frequency at which you post, it's the quality content at which you post, it's the social media hashtags at which you post, and the different cycles and circles around when your viewers and followers actually see that consistency and repetition is what really builds awareness. And that's important for us to hit.
So it sounds like the plan for an ideal client, they would work with you and use your studio produced content. And then they would also have to organically create some content to weave into their campaigns of community outreach and brand awareness. And they would use you as the anchor for creative to produce their video content that they're going to weave into their other plans of how they interact and engage and build awareness.
Correct. Right. We're the backbone, the spine, as you will, right? That is really building the foundation for what an active social media, these videos can be used on your website, Facebook, LinkedIn. These are the foundations of exactly why people need to be educated on the chiropractic space. And of course, right, like the authenticity aspect of you yourself doing a little Facebook live stream, right? A 15-second blurb about who you are or something that's going on in your community. That's just going to enhance it. But as anybody that's ever had to deal with a social media campaign, the reason most people say I don't like social media is because it's overwhelming. They don't even know where to start. So from my perspective is that if we can build that foundation for people where they have really on brand topics, we can give them the foundation to build their solid house and then help guide them towards, put those little pieces in that are uniquely you, right? Do a little 15-second thing. You just went from a thing that was overwhelmingly just intense because you're like, how am I supposed to produce all this content regularly? And simplify the process down. So you have this beautiful balance as we see it of both, right? Professionally produced, uniquely branded to your office content with other pieces of really authentically made short clips for yourself.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Well, I think that's the other part that I wanted to touch on is like the volume and the frequency and the way that people get information is like lightning fast these days. And you're talking about a huge number of people that don't have any awareness of chiropractic. Well, I've been in the profession going on 16 years now. And since I started, the numbers have not shifted once. It's the average number of people under consistent chiropractic care year in and year out runs between 6 to 10%. So even if you were really generous and you're just like, hey, I'm going to hit a bullseye and 8% of the American population is seeing a chiropractor this year. That means that we have 92% reach of people that need education and communication if they're ever going to flip in to the system of chiropractic. So
100%.
I think with what you've seen in the Palmer Gallup poll and what I know as the facts from being in this space for so long, that people just need more awareness campaign. They need more education. They need to have more things that they can communicate and give thumbs up and hearts to and say, that I can identify with that. That's me. Wow.
100%.
I didn't know that my grandma should go see the chiropractor for numbness and tingling in her arms. I didn't know that my baby should go see the chiropractor for colic. I didn't know that my teenager should go see a chiropractor for upset stomach and bedwetting. like
Right.
all these things that like are real life concerns to people. I didn't know that I should go see a chiropractor because of infertility. I didn't know that stuff, and there's so many people out there in like this world that are like probably going to watch us or listen to us and be like, I didn't know that either. And they're going to
Yeah.
have to go down one or two more layers to understand that like when the body's connected neurologically, then the body heals the way it's supposed to. And it doesn't need pills, potions, or lotions to come in,
Right.
or shots to come in and fix it from the outside in. If we connect, like my opener, if we connect man the physical with man the spiritual, then the body heals the way it's supposed to, from above down, inside out. It doesn't need anything, just no interference. And that's really what we need to start, a campaign of education and communication. And when I got
Sure.
into this profession 15 years ago, my sole purpose was to learn how to help people, but also how to get people to tell their testimonies and to do like
Mm-hmm.
these patient testimonial reels when nobody even knew what a reel was. I had a little flip camera and I was
Right.
interviewing people about how chiropractic changed their lives. And we'd simply go into a clinic and we'd interview 10 people and we'd say, what was your life like before chiropractic? Tell us your story. What's your life like now since chiropractic? Tell us your story. And then the last bit would be, would you recommend your friends or family to chiropractic? And when you answer that, say, I would recommend chiropractic to my friends and family. This is why.
Right.
And I would just go do these simple productions. But as I went through that, I started to realize that like every chiropractor I ever talked to said, hey, we need to do a better job of educating the communities. How can I get
No
more
doubt.
doctors talks set up? How can I do some lunch and learns where I can come and bring lunch to people and give 20-minute talks to people at their businesses about chiropractic? How can I have dinner with the doctor things where I invite 20 people to dinner and I give like a 30-minute talk about chiropractic and tell people how we can help them? And how can I create brochures? How can I do this? How can I get it
Yeah. But I
more?
think that's why you hit on a good point, is that unfortunately, right, there isn't a one piece puzzle, right? That's not a puzzle, right? There's 10 pieces, 12 pieces, 15 pieces that go into this whole idea of branding, awareness, education, and resource. And, it takes a collective whole, right, to do that. And so all of these mediums have to be utilized at all times. And again, I think that's really to your point about how do we simplify. It's that it's too often times in life, at least in my opinion, right? We're siloed, right? Everybody looks very much at like what they are doing. And the idea is that they do it once, and that's why you can go in certain areas, right? Different demographics, that you can have a huge percentage of the population that will have a very strong, resounding understanding of the chiropractic industry, right? The philosophies behind it, because they hit a certain demographic target demo, right? Well, in my whole personal belief and why I'm excited about what we can do with EVO Creative, it's that we're leveling the playing field around that idea, which is, who's to say that just because you don't fit this bucket and you don't live in this little town with this one person who's really promoting this ethos, that you should be completely unaware of that. And it shouldn't be because of resources or know-how that people, the consumers, right, the patients at large, aren't educated by this, right? And that's the exciting part, is that EVO Creative Media is a piece of that puzzle to do that, right? Is to have ongoing patient journeys, right? To work within that patient testimonial side, to look at the overarching ethos and philosophies that drive chiropractic care, and to look at how we're going to make this a long play, right? A long term Titanic moving the ship type of situation. And that is really the ethos. If you go like, who's our ideal client, right? It's people that say, I'm in it today, I'm in it tomorrow, I'm in it for the future, right? We talked about again before we got on this whole Uberization. Everybody wants it here, quick, and now. And they're very quick to give up on things and say, this doesn't work, right? Online marketing doesn't work. This doesn't work. They get distraught and they give up, right? But yet, 75% of all media that's consumed, video media, are done through videos on mobile phones. How many of the thousands of people out there that own businesses and chiropractic clinics are actively posting high quality video, patient education oriented video regularly to be consumed on media in short clip form, nowhere near the amounts to have it actually have a tractionable difference, right? So again, it's people understanding that narrative when I say, hey, you can have really good education content out there as an industry as a whole, right? As an ethos as a whole, as a Chiro hustle, right? Community member as a whole, and say this isn't about today or tomorrow. This is 6 months from now, 12 months from now. And by truly leaning into that kind of co-op ethos, right, where everybody's sharing a bit of the burden, right? Rising tides lift all boats. It makes it all of a sudden where you can have high quality, high impact, really poignant messaging that educates consumers across the globe at an affordable price point, which the affordability is important because that then makes it sustainable, right? And that's why I love your whole dynamic about the free speech part of it. The whole like big idea for me around EVO Creative Media is the idea that we are an independent business built for independent businesses, truly, which is, it's great to be a part of a franchise or work in a bigger corporate structure, but anybody that knows or does or has knows that you also play by the playbook, right? There's a box that you get put into. And sometimes that box is good, sometimes that box is not so good. We have that opportunity to create that space, right? Where we can create our own box, right? And that's really what EVO Creative is about. Is taking a collective community of people that share the same ethos, that have a long vision, that want a sustainable future, and have this as a quiver, right, for them to utilize. And not being afraid to push that narrative to educate patients about things they just don't know about.
So I guess the client journey, what does it look like when somebody says, I want to work with EVO Creative Media? What does that look like from engagement to becoming a part of the ecosystem to the launching process to saying, dang, I should have done this. If EVO was created a year ago, I should have been doing this a year ago.
Right. And that's a good question.
And I guess the second follow-up to that, just keeping that in mind, is when you're thinking about like the access to the information, how do you guide people in a journey and say, look, you have to have a content strategy for X amount of months, or this is how many posts you need to do weekly or daily, or do you actually guide people with their like strategy with the content that you create also?
Yeah. So first part of your question. So as far as the Chiro Hustle community, right? So evocreativemedia.com/Chiro Hustle. Right now, we're currently going through joining a wait list for launching October 1st. The idea being the first bit of content is released at that point, right? So on the main website, after somebody joins the wait list, they're going to get an email saying, hey, thanks for, joining onto the wait list, being a part of this community in this journey. At that point, you'll also get a follow-up email talking about the different type of content that we know is impactful, right? There's shorter form ones, there's longer form ones, there's stuff for your website. All of these things matter, right? Even from like appearing on Google, having videos uploaded onto your website. So all of those parameters, you're gonna get a survey sent from us that's gonna help collect some of that information, and also utilizing it towards understanding people are coming from a different starting spot. If that makes sense. That, some people have a pretty strong grasp on their content strategies. Other people, zero clue, right? Our goal is to get an aggregate of that, let us understand where you're at. So that way we can personalize to know, how much coaching guidance do you need to make this a successful impact, right? From that point, to your second question about the content strategy is, so they'll have a personal login to our database. Within that, they'll have it from January, February, March, right? Month to month to month. They'll have images, videos, that are already cropped and edited in all the formats for website, Instagram, Facebook, the keywords and hashtags that they can post to that. They can edit those as they need to, right? If they have any kind of personal things that they want to add towards it, or they can copy and paste it because we're leaning on our expertise to have the appropriate hashtags and appropriate content copy to go along with the post. So it's kind of this beautiful hybrid model. And again, I go back to that, which is, if you just say, hey, I just need really good content at an affordable price, and I really know what I got going on, right? Here's your login, do what you got to do, post it, do whatever, resource you have. There you go. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, right? We're there to help guide you along. Here's a good frequency structure. Here's a good guidance structure. Here's a good, template to follow again, because don't want to ever pretend like this is a one size fits all. And I think that's a problem anybody that's ever done marketing knows, right? Is you got to do different things, right? Is that, hey, post these videos here, right? Use this content copy, these keywords, these hashtags, but also try to do a 15-second video, right, on this topic that might correlate to, something that's going on within society, the holidays, that normal stuff. So we try to meet in that middle ground for people because, again, I think it's too oftentimes people are put into this hypothetical box that we just talked about, right? And there is no one size fits all. And so that's our goal, is to give that guidance to where you're at in the journey, but with that foundation of high quality content that is ubiquitous across anybody with that shared ethos.
Well, it drives me to understanding that people need to take massive action, and they need to build content strategy calendars for the year, and they need to work with your company specifically so they can learn how to lace in the content that your company provides with a strategic model to where they don't have to continuously shoot from the hip daily and create engagement. They can actually have a timeline that they look to, and they can strategically plan month by month by month, by quarter, by year. And they can start to understand that if we do these types of engagement things around this type of content, now we have a strategy and we can be effective with this. So now our marketing dollars go to a very effective place, rather than us just kind of painting by numbers and guessing and finger painting and seeing if it can work, instead of creating a masterpiece plan that we know that we have a strategy lined up with this much content that we can put on this platform. And now we have a clearer idea. Do we need to get a photo shoot for our clinic? Do we need to make a better logo? Do we need to create better brand awareness with our community? Do we need to start thinking about what is our mission statement? Is this clear? And then I think when people start working with you, they can start to really get clear on what their identity is, along with the community outreach strategy with their social media, to where everybody has a really nice idea and plan moving forward, to where we're not just kind of, guessing. And I think, like you said, it's not like one size fits all, but when you start to get clear as to who your avatar patients are, we can start getting you the right content that can start communicating and entertaining those people, to where now they're stopping and they're saying, yep, I identify with that. I like this. I want to do this now.
1,000%. I mean, that's it, right? We understand that people come in all shapes, sizes, and forms, right? And too often, again, I go back towards it, people miss out because they don't fit in that box, right? You go this avenue to get box A, to box B, to box C. Our goal is to say, how can we show, right, patients across a wide variety of the spectrum that can all benefit from these services, the treatment techniques, the philosophies and ethos behind that. These are shared commonalities, right? These are not rewriting the history books. They just need to be put in a way. And so oftentimes I think that's kind of that mind shift. I think people that know things take for granted that they know things, right? Because people don't know what they don't know. And sometimes you can say things so much like, well, it's like speaking in acronyms. You ever heard that, right? People that speak in acronyms, and the other people at the table are like, what the hell is this person talking about? Well, just because you know it, other people don't know it, right? And that's really what this is about, right? It's saying, hey, how do we make this go far, right? How do we actually make this for not the people that know you, right? But the people that don't know you, right? And I think that's the bigger initiative that oftentimes marketing, should be focused on. It sounds obvious, but too often, just like in a lot of things in life, we do live in our own echo chambers, right? And I think if we can expand that and grow that to the point that we're collectively growing, right? Again, I can't get off the fact that people should know for EVO Creative Media, it really is about that idea of this co-op model, right? If you're like, oh, I just want to be off on my own little dinghy out here in the ocean, right? We're not for you, right? But if you're one of those people that says, hey, I get this, right? I believe in this ethos. I believe in this collective shared mind share, right? To raise the intellect of the entire community. That's what's out there. And again, when it comes to affordability, you talk about things going further. Marketing is the only way you build awareness, right? There's a lot of ways to market something. The biggest reason people don't continue on with those types of initiatives is money, typically speaking, right? Or know how. One of those two things, right? They're shooting from the hip, it's overwhelming, or it costs way too much money. So for us to actually bring the highest level quality of production centered around an ethos, right? And a mind share that is vetted and tested to make sure that we're right on point at an affordable cost. Well, all that really means is that you have really branded stuff. And then all of a sudden you have opened up resources and funds and time to do what you do best. You don't want to be a marketing expert? Don't worry about it. You don't have $1 million in the world, right? You're not a huge conglomerate. Don't worry about it, right? We are a solution for those 80%. That's how I look at it, right? There's a top 10%, like they're doing what they're doing, right? They don't want anybody's help. You got the bottom 10%, right? They don't want any help either, right? But that 80% is really what drives us, right? And us building solutions for those 80% to push that path forward, to build their narrative and build their message and build their brand.
I think it's really important that people start to pay attention to the grandiose message of chiropractic. As I mentioned, 92% of the American population is not utilizing chiropractic yearly. And if we look at that 80 split, where 20% are just already set and the bottom 20 don't take action, though now we have this 80% people, not just in the practitioner world, but in the usage model. Like now we can still kind of understand that that model applies. Is there's just a whole group of people that are so far gone that they're never going to attempt chiropractic, and there's already the 8% that's already utilizing. So we have the sweet spot of an 80% initiative that we can go after that group of people and
For sure.
and start to say, hey man, I'm just like you. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're thinking. I know what your results have been. Why don't you try us? And I think that that's a really cool thing that you're going to be doing with EVO Creative Media. Go guys, just go to evocreativemedia.com/Chiro Hustle, join the wait list, get in touch with Reuben and his team, become one of the pioneers that joins with this group and starts creating media and content as a collective consciousness to be able to stay on brand with chiropractic, not only for your clinic, but for the global demand. And right now, if we got that other 80% of people that were not under care to come into chiropractic clinics right now, there aren't enough chiropractors to handle that volume that would create demand for. So if you guys want to be an early adopter to this platform and learn more about what Reuben is doing with his team, go to, once again, evocreativemedia.com/Chiro Hustle. Reuben, is there anything that I didn't touch on today that you think that we should mention to the audience today?
There's nothing really I could think of, James, except that I'm really grateful to be here. I think that, this is an exciting time, an exciting opportunity that we can really lean into technology, lean into the future, and really change the narrative. Because as you mentioned, right, we'll leave it with that, which is for all the years that it's been known that not enough people are looking for solutions, right, that are non-open, non-surgical, the number's not changing, right? So if the number's not changing, that means sometimes we got to do things different, right? That's really what I aim to do, right? Is to be something different, look for pioneers, look for trailblazers, right? To start get an uptick in that number, right? Because obviously change is good, change can be scary, but it's an exciting time as well.
Well, the people out there, I tell people all the time with my old school marketing approaches, most people don't take action for their health because they don't know where to go, who to trust, and they don't do anything about it. When you don't do anything about it, it doesn't just get better. You have to take action. And I think that that's one of the things about what you're doing is you're giving people, those people that don't know where to go or who to trust, an option, not just for the consumer side of it, but for the practitioner side of that. And I think that the language is just as clear to the consumer side of it also is now because of the initiatives that you're doing with these pioneers and trailblazers, you're giving people the opportunity to find that know, like, and trust effect to where they can go somewhere and get their questions answered and actually save themselves from drugs and surgery. And that's the
1000%.
overarching ethos. Once again, using your language, people need to understand that the ethos of this project is to save people from drugs and surgery and to get chiropractic more mainstream and get into more people's social media scroll to where they start shaking their head and says, that sounds like me. That's for me. I want that. With that,
That's it.
Reuben Boyd, thanks for being on with us. Your episode 658, the Chiro Hustle podcast.
658. Let's get it. Thanks for having me, James.
Yes, sir. I close out like I always do. I tell you guys, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Have a good day, Reuben.
You too. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.